don't forget that this is sustainable is what we're going for. So you have way more than 6 weeks. You have the rest of your life to get this figured out. We are going to help you get that figured out much more quickly because of the education that we're giving you. So I really want you all to think about the fact that this isn't just 6 weeks, okay? This is the rest of your life, because you're going to want to make these changes forever. And they're very, very reasonable. The things we're going to help you with are extremely reasonable. You can do this forever. Okay. Don't think that you're in a rush. I like to say, give yourself, this is just the beginning of takeoff. And I want you to give yourself a 6-week runway. Now, you will definitely get results in the 6 weeks. But as we mentioned at the beginning, really important to keep that journal and to keep thinking about what like actual transformation is happening in my head and with my relationship with food and my body and my outlook on my health. What kind of transformations are happening in these 6 weeks? I think we kind of pull you guys in with the whole thing about, and this is for real, this will happen, fat loss and eating well and fitness. But what we really love is to watch the transformation that happens inside of each one of you. So I want you to keep your eyes. We kind of tricked you in here. You will lose fat and you will learn to eat well and you will get strong, but you'll also get a whole lot of stuff up here, okay? So I want you to give yourself some grace to make mistakes, to fall off the wagon, so to speak. To not do everything perfectly. We also have to remember that, there's a lot of information and some people get very overwhelmed with all the information. Don't let yourself get discouraged and overwhelmed. There probably will be overwhelm. I'm just going to tell you that's how it goes, because we do give a lot of information and a lot of it will be in the first couple of weeks. And that is so that you have the tools that you need to start off quickly in the right direction. So keep in mind, if just getting to the gym and just trying to print a meal plan and get to the grocery store is like, that's all you can handle, that is totally okay. That's the grace you're going to give yourself. You can come back and watch all these videos later when your brain can absorb it, okay? Everybody in this group, we have 28 ladies in this group, which is amazing. Everybody in this group is coming from a different place, as I've mentioned before. So we know that some are super organized, some like to know exactly what's going on. What I do notice is if we give too much information about what's going on and what's coming up, people jump ahead of themselves. And to be honest, it's hard for us to be right here with you coaching and jump ahead. So we won't do that. So that's why we dole things out week by week, because we know what we can handle on this end, especially with 28 ladies, okay? So be patient with us on that aspect. So I just want you to not feel overwhelmed. Again, that's kind of funny because I know that some of you will, but just be okay with being where you are today and making one step forward. So I have this phrase I like to use, the good, better, best protocol, I call it. Maybe you watch somebody in this group and she is just killing it. Like she is prepping her food she's shopping on Saturday. She's prepping her food on Sunday. She's showing how gorgeous her fridge looks. She's, in all her meal prep containers and all that stuff. And she made all of her workouts and you're like, oh my gosh, that's just too much. That is totally okay. No comparison here, okay? There is no failing. We are only practicing forward. So think of this as practice, okay? And be okay to be where you are and reach out if you need the help. If you feel like you're just not getting it or what have you, but give yourself the time to learn the things and be okay with where you are, okay? I just really, really want to emphasize that because it's critical to your success that you give yourself some grace and don't try to be, dashing forward at the same pace that somebody else is, okay? So with that said, I want you to write yourself a little positive affirmation. We'll talk more about affirmations as we go along, but a little positive affirmation is that I'm doing my best, okay? So good, better, best. Maybe you want to write that down in your journal. Most things that you will do in the next 6 weeks are probably better than what you have been doing in the past. So you're already winning, right? So consider each action. Is this better than I was doing before? Maybe it's not my best, but it's better. Or maybe it's not what she's doing, but it's better than I was doing, okay? So that's a great place to put your mindset when you find yourself falling into the comparison trap and feeling like you're not measuring up. No, we don't do that here. So we are going to help you be the best that you can be with where you are. Okay? All right. So now we're going to dive into the nitty gritty. That gave you time to get your pencils. We are going to talk today about meal plans and food, carbs, calories, proteins, fats, how to calculate these things, if you even need to calculate. And I want to preface this part of the conversation with the fact that, again, we are all coming from different places and different backgrounds with our experience with nutrition and resetting ourselves and all this. So with that said, each person is going to approach this, this calorie, the kind of food on their plate with a different angle. And you've got to choose the best for you and what you can handle without getting overwhelmed and feeling discouraged because it's just so much. Okay. So I'm going to help you with that today, how to kind of determine what's the best place for you to start. This is how, when I make a meal plan or I'm teaching somebody how to get good food on a plate, this is level one, is I draw a picture of a plate and then we will divide the plate in half. The half of your plate should be filled with veggies. So your protein is typically your best sources of protein are going to be lean protein. So it's fish, chicken, turkey, tofu, for those of you that may be vegetarian. You can also, those of you that do dairy, you can also use cottage cheese, Greek yogurt as your proteins. We'll get into numbers in just a minute here. But in general, I just made a post for you guys. About how to fill your plate. There's a picture. So half your plate is vegetables, a quarter of your plate is protein. We have a sprinkle of fat, so that's looking like thumbs. So maybe it's a thumbful of olive oil. Maybe that is your avocado. Maybe it is coconut oil that you cooked your vegetables in. And your maybe nuts and seeds, things like that. So about one thumbful. And, if you're light on the calories for the day, go ahead and throw 2 thumbfuls. The healthy fats, again, are coconut-based products, avocado-based products, olive oil, and actual real butter is a good fat for you to use. So those would be 1 thumb or sprinkle. Now, when it comes to the carbohydrates, what I like to teach is that for perimenopausal, menopausal women, and fat loss clients, they are going to eat about 5 to 7 bites per meal. I like this method because you don't have to carb count, you don't have to look at the package, because there should be very few packages in your life. It's super simple. You can just get 5 bites on a plate, and when you're done with your 5 to 7 bites per meal, you're done with your carbs. And the reason I like the bites is because about every bite of carbohydrate is roughly 5 grams, okay? So if I'm gonna eat 5 to 7 bites of a starchy carbohydrate, that's pastas, rice, potatoes, bread, things like that. If I'm gonna eat 5 to 7 bites per meal, I have about 25 to 30 grams per meal, okay? If I'm gonna eat 3 meals and a snack per day, I'm looking between 100 and 150 grams of carbs per day. Okay, and now for most fat loss clients or women, perimenopausal and menopausal women or diabetics, they all fall into this category. That's going to do the trick. Now, with that said, I want you to remember, if you find that your energy is just like, oh my gosh, I'm eating 5 bites per meal 4 times a day, I'm getting about 100 to 120 50 grams of carbs, I'm just drained, then you might be a person that needs more. The reason those people fall into that category is because they tend to be a little more carb resistant. Their body doesn't utilize the carbs as well because of a bunch of hormonal things going on with them, okay? Which again, we'll be diving into in future broadcasts, the reasons why, but for now, sorry, that glare behind me was driving me crazy. But for now, I want to give you counts that you can work with, and then we'll start getting into the why. Okay, so you are looking at 5 to 7 bites. Again, if you find yourself crashing, you're constantly just dragging in energy, it's a good sign you could be shy in carbohydrates, or even possibly calories throughout the day. So you might add in just another bite. And so this whole project is about being a detective and figuring out what works for you. What kind of balance of carbs, proteins, and fats keep you satiated, so that you're not hungry, 3 to 4 hours. If you can go 4 hours and not really even feel the need to eat, then you have found an awesome arrangement on your plate, okay? It's designed to keep your energy levels high and your cravings in check. So hunger, energy, and cravings are three things that we're looking at as we're learning how to fill your plate, okay? So we have 5 to 7 bites typically for the perimenopausal, the diabetic woman, and the woman that has a fat loss goal. Antimenopausal woman. Now, just so you can see the other piece of that is that a really active person, somebody that wants to maintain their weight, somebody that's working out a lot, lifting a lot of heavy weights. Maybe it's somebody like Rennie is a firefighter. She's out there and she's sweating and she's grunting and she's working in the forest, out in the forest. She's got a high energy output, most likely. So she might be somebody that can get away with more like 10 bites per meal. Okay, somebody that's trying to maintain their weight. Then we also have somebody that is like an endurance athlete. They're running marathons, they're riding their bike for hours daily. That person, or somebody that's super lean, we call them hard gainers. They're tall. You all know them, tall, thin people that have a really hard time keeping weight on. That person can probably get away with more like 10 to 15 bites per meal. But again, it's all kind of this science experiment, okay? So I want you to think about you being a food detective, and that's what we're trying to teach you is how to play with it. So a lot of this comes from eating a meal and then checking in with yourself about 30 minutes to 2 hours later, somewhere in that window. How do I feel? Am I craving anything? Is my energy high? Am I having crashes? Am I having headaches? Those crashes and headaches and fatigue would be a sign that maybe it's not very well balanced for you, okay? This is why we like to say that not one meal plan is going to fit everyone. That's why I call it a template. And then we teach you these things to help you make it fit for you, okay? Okay, so that is our meal plan template in a nutshell. That's kind of how I design the meal plans and what I'm looking for, okay? And then the piece about how to fill your plate, that is what you are going to be, practicing and playing with throughout this program, whether it's the food that's in your meal plan or if it's something that you got at a restaurant or a potluck or you went to a friend's house for dinner. That gives you a good visual on how to fill your plate when you aren't eating exactly from the plan.